Welcome to Rackspace, Data Center Dynamics' weekly look at news from the world of data centers. This week, starting with open power, open compute, all the opens.
Yes, no, it's actually, it took a while, right, because, but this is brand new, open compute and open power, two open movements coming together. And this is interesting because open power is mostly interested in server level innovation, it's basically chips and servers, whereas open compute is interested in the wider data center architectures. And when the two meet together, beautiful things happen. So this week, Open Power Summit in San Jose, a number of announcements, and here are the most interesting ones. Number one, Google and Rackspace are building a server system, or a server system concept at least, maybe a prototype, based on upcoming Power 9 chips from IBM.
Okay.
And it's going to be fully compliant with the Open Compute guidelines. So it's an Open Compute says server based on Open Power.
So no Intel anywhere?
No, not anywhere near. But if you think that's cool, Rackspace is already close to deploying an Open Power, Open Compute compliant server in its own data centers. It's called Barrel Eye, and yeah, it's going to be very, very interesting later this year. Actual real life systems.
And is that different hardware to the hardware that that was announced with IBM?
Yes, it is. It's an independent Rackspace only project. IBM is also working on its own Open Power, Open Compute servers as part of the LC line, but these are expected to be more, like serious, more sort of like HPC oriented stuff. And they're not the only ones. I mean, the sort of like guys who are also sort of like bringing two together include Mark III systems, Penguin Computing, and Stack Velocity.
I'm just interested in the list you're reeling off. The power architecture from IBM is genuinely being built into more processors and more servers across the range, and they're all going to be coming out. Is there a sense of deja vu here? Because we did hear a lot of this about ARM a couple of years ago. It all sounded a bit similar.
Yes, no, but I think this proves that the Open Power Foundation has achieved its stated aims. It is taking power to the masses. It is resulting in more servers being made on the power architecture, and it's pushing the ecosystem forward. And that's the only thing IBM ever wanted. So on that front, the way I see it, they've already succeeded.
Okay. We promised you all the opens this week. OpenStack, and it's Rackspace again, because Rackspace helped launch OpenStack way back. And now they've launched an off-the-peg OpenStack private cloud offering. Before the announcement came out, I thought it was going to be called OpenStack everywhere.
Yes, that's what I thought.
Yes.
It's not.
The actual story says it's got the much less exciting name, Managed Private Cloud Everywhere. Yeah. Please, Rackspace, come on. You're meant to be fanatical about these things. Who is going to get fanatical about Managed Private Cloud Everywhere? Anyway, apart from the name, this is interesting. It's got, it's a private cloud, but you buy it as a service, more or less, from Rackspace, because it turns out that OpenStack is tricky to do. You have to integrate it, you have to build it and deliver it. To me, I get deja vu about when people are talking about Linux and Unix. It's there, it's got all the technology, but OpenStack engineers are expensive and expertise is hard to come by.
You don't want to do it yourself?
Apparently not. That's at least what Rackspace, who now brand themselves as the managed cloud company, that's what Rackspace says that we'll want to do. And good luck to them. Right, and Max, a very powerful data center in a box.
Well, that's how they call it. I mean, I think the premise is ridiculous. But anyway, Nvidia has created a 3U box that it says possesses the power of 250 servers.
Right, these are 250 Intel servers.
I'm not sure what kind of servers they compare themselves to, but this particular box is all about GPUs.
Right.
It's got Nvidia's latest GPUs, I think Pascal architecture. If we're trying to find a Tesla P100, it's got 8 of them. And these are essentially solid chunks of silicon. They're beautiful, they're powerful, and they're especially good for deep learning.
Oh.
And there is an opinion going around that, like, in 5 years, a lot of the data centers instead of are going to host more GPU compute than CPU compute. That CPU is going away. Everything that plays off AI, like all these new research projects we've seen, the meltdown on Microsoft Tay, and that probably ran on the GPU somewhere. So these things you can only do with GPUs. Nvidia is obviously the largest GPU manufacturer in the world, and they're trying to take advantage of that. Yes. Peter, this week Equinix has surprised us with a contradiction of sorts.
Yes, well, as we wrote it, we realised Equinix has launched something called a data hub, which is designed for edge data centres. This is actually perfectly logical, but when you look at the words you're using there, a hub is something that goes at the centre of a wheel, and this is something that deals with the edge. So what it actually is it's a smallish amount of pre-configured stuff in a rack that is designed to be in a data center close to where your data sources are, and so it can do things like aggregate Internet of Things data. Internet of Things is a particular sales point here, or use date or delivering content. It's that very much the edge data center concept, and Equinix in its data centers is offering its customers a pre-configured, their own little pre-configured edge data center, basically in a rack in that data center.
The idea is sound, but it sounds like they just want to jump on the bandwagon, right? They sort of...
Yep, they are. It's two things to say there. It's actually a real bandwagon. Edge data centers have become a real thing. They don't all have to be in cupboards in strange buildings or in basements in heaters. Yeah, or containers, or any of those kind of things. If you've got as many data centers as Equinix, you could put a bit of edge data center in them, and it's fairly close to where your customers want it. And the other thing about it is this, if you look under the covers, is actually something that they've not developed from scratch for this use case. Equinix has cloud provider customers that need this sort of edge capacity in amongst what they're buying from Equinix. So Equinix has already configured this for cloud customers, and they're just repurposing, rebadging it for enterprise users who still are buying stuff within the data center. So it's another aspect of this is it's yet another facet of the rather tired colo versus cloud story. It's a bit of cloud innovation feeding back to the continued strength of colocation.
I see. So let's say you have a large Equinix deployment somewhere, let's say London, right?
Yeah.
But you have some customers in Paris, and the idea is you place this edge hub.
Yeah.
You get a little bit of compute and storage in Paris, and it essentially serves as your edge data center.
Yes. That's right. That seems to be what it is.
I mean, Amazon has been having trouble in Ireland with the new data center, as we established last week. Facebook, meanwhile, is expanding. Is that right? That's
right, indeed. Facebook got approval for its Colony data center and started building it in January. And this week had the groundbreaking ceremony, or in Ireland this is called a sod turning ceremony, which involves the obligatory lineup of executives with spades.
You've got a picture?
Yeah, we've got a picture.
Yeah.
Good. But the other picture that came out was the artist's impression of the data centre that will eventually be built here, and people noticed that the one we saw this week is twice as big as the one we saw in January. There always were plans to make this a 2-building data centre, but now those plans have clearly sort of come forward, and it looks like they're going for it sooner than they otherwise would. So there's a bigger data centre in prospect sooner than expected. The other thing Facebook have said is who they're getting their renewable power from. It's a company called Brookfield, and which has enough wind energy for capability in Ireland to cover the demands of this facility. They say that the demands of this site are approximately equal to 150 megawatt of wind capacity, whereas Facebook has previously said it's using about 72 megawatts. That's roughly what we mean when we say wind capacity. It's on about half the time. So 150 megawatts of wind capacity, I think, roughly equals 75 megawatts of actual continuous capacity. And by using that much continuous capacity and paying for that much wind power, Facebook can say it's using wind power.
I have a theory about why Facebook needs just this much data center space right now.
Yeah.
As you might or might not know, they bought Oculus Rift, and this year it's finally getting launched as a commercial product. VR needs loads of bandwidth, needs loads of compute, and it's just a very sort of like technically intensive thing. Facebook is already planning VR video as part of its social media platform. So basically, like if we thought like HD video was a drain on resources, just wait till VR actually kicks in.
I think that's it for this week. Right, thank you for joining us. See you next week.
Bye bye.